If you live with other people, you've probably noticed something. Your dog doesn't treat everyone the same. There's one person they follow a little more closely, one person they greet a little harder at the door, one person whose lap they always end up on, even when the whole couch is open and everyone's sitting right there. And if you've ever wondered why that person is, or isn't, you, the answer might not be what you expect. Most people assume the favorite person is the one who feeds the dog. That's the obvious answer. But it's usually wrong. Dogs form attachment bonds based on something deeper than resource provision. Food creates routine. Treats create momentary excitement. But safety creates attachment. And those aren't the same thing. A dog who knows you'll fill their bowl at 7 in the morning trusts the schedule. A dog who runs to you during a thunderstorm trusts you. The difference between those two things is the difference between habit and bond. Research on something called the secure base effect has shown this clearly. In experiments where dogs were placed in unfamiliar rooms with their owner and a stranger, dogs consistently explored more freely when their primary attachment figure was present. They wandered further, investigated more objects, showed more confidence. But when that person left, even if the stranger stayed, even if the stranger was friendly and calm, the dog's behavior changed. They explored less, stayed closer to the door, became more inhibited. The person they oriented toward wasn't the one who gave them the most food or the most play. It was the person who made the environment feel safe just by being there. And when researchers looked at which human traits predicted this role, a clear pattern emerged. The person your dog gravitates toward is usually the one whose schedule is most predictable, whose voice stays even, whose movements are unhurried, whose emotional state doesn't spike unpredictably. No sudden anger, no wild swings, no bursts of intensity that come out of nowhere. Not because calm is better in some moral sense, but because predictability is safety. And for a dog, an animal that reads the world primarily through patterns and repetition, safety is the foundation of every deep bond. Everything else sits on top of it. That's why the favorite person is often not the most exciting one, not the one who roughhouses the most, not the one who gives the most treats. It's often the quietest person in the house. There's another factor most people overlook entirely: the critical socialization window. Dogs form their deepest attachment templates between roughly 3 and 12 weeks of age. During this period, their brains are extraordinarily plastic, absorbing social information at a rate they'll never match again. The person who was present during that window, who held them, carried them, spoke to them in the morning, was the last voice they heard before sleep, often carries a lasting imprint. Not as a conscious memory the dog recalls, as a pattern, a template, a set of sensory cues, voice frequency, scent signature, movement rhythm, that the brain filed under safe before the puppy even understood what safety meant. That doesn't mean the bond can't be built later. It absolutely can. Dogs are remarkably adaptive, but the foundation laid in those first weeks tends to carry disproportionate weight. So how can you actually tell who your dog has chosen? Forget the obvious stuff. Forget who gets the most tail wags or the loudest greeting. Those are excitement responses, and excitement isn't the same as attachment. Watch for the quiet signals instead. Who does your dog look at first when something unexpected happens? A loud crash in the kitchen? A knock on the door? A sudden change in the room? The person your dog checks in with during moments of uncertainty is usually their primary attachment figure, That's not the fun person. That's the safe person. Who do they bring things to? Not for play, not the bouncy throw it again delivery, but the quiet kind, the toy placed at someone's feet without a request attached. Who do they lean against when they're tired? Not when they want something, when they're just done for the day and looking for a body to rest against. Who do they follow into the bathroom? This one sounds silly, but it's remarkably consistent. The person your dog follows into the most vulnerable private space in the house is the person they feel most bonded to. They're maintaining proximity to their primary attachment figure. Whose bed do they choose at night? Not whose room they're allowed in. Whose bed they choose when every door is open and every option is available. These micro-choices, repeated daily automatically without training or prompting across months and years, reveal the hierarchy your dog has built, quietly, without anyone even noticing. And here's the part that matters most, especially if you're not the chosen one. Attachment isn't permanent. It can shift, and it doesn't require grand gestures. What it requires is time, presence, and consistency. The same things that built the original bond can build a new one if you show up the same way, at the same times, with the same calm energy, day after day. Not excitement, not extra treats, not trying harder than the other person, just being there, reliably, quietly, predictably. Be the person who takes the quiet evening walk, not the high-energy fetch session, the slow 20 minutes where the dog sniffs every mailbox, and you just exist nearby without rushing them. Be the person who sits on the floor sometimes, not to play, just to be at their level. Dogs notice when you come down to them. Be in the room during rest time, not interacting, just present. Let the dog fall asleep, knowing you're 3 feet away, doing nothing, going nowhere. And most importantly, be consistent. Same time, same energy, same person showing up the same way. Because your dog isn't measuring love in grand gestures. They're measuring it in patterns. Over weeks and months, these deposits add up. Your dog recalibrates. Not because you bribed them, because you became a pattern they could rely on. So if your dog has a favorite, and most dogs do, don't take it personally if it isn't you. It doesn't mean they don't love you. It means someone else's pattern felt safer first. That's not rejection. That's biology. And don't take it for granted if it is you. That position was earned through thousands of tiny moments, each one too small to remember, but none of them too small to matter. Because the bond your dog builds isn't about who's the most fun. It's not about who gives the best treats or the longest walks. It's about who feels the most real, the most steady, the most predictable, the most there. Because dogs don't speak in words, they speak in signals, small, quiet, constant signals. And sometimes the biggest signal is the smallest choice, whose feet to lie beside at the end of the day.